Your husband, and she feels I really need his help. Being in his presence, her estrogen levels will go up and her stress level will go down. That's it. More women go to doctors than men. Why?
Nothing rhymes with that but chicken tikka. We name drop here with Stephen and all his friends.
If you're a woman and you feel, oh, he has something I can't do for myself, she can depend on him. She can trust him. Her estrogen levels go up. And therefore, placebo works much better. And men, not as much. So they're always asking me, how do we get more men into the doctor's office? I said, forget it. They're only going to go to the doctor's office when they're in suffering and pain. Pain motivates us.
Pretty much.
That's wild to me that you're banned from college campuses like Louis Farrakhan.
Well, that's really funny. It's sad, of course, that there's folks that take things to that extreme. There's always the favorite thing Gary always says is the truth is somewhere in the middle, because there are people falling off. Like he was talking on a presentation he gave last week about, how men and women react differently to stress, because that's just something that he's actually studied. He was talking about Glennon Doyle and how she talked about it in her book Untamed. And she's a really interesting current pop culture person, because she was a Christian, like evangelical style Christian, wrote success books on how to be a good Christian wife, even in the light of her husband's infidelity. And then she fell in love with a woman and walked away from all of it, wrote her truth, sold the book Untamed. Beautiful. Gary was talking about that, and he got notes from one of his listeners that said, you shouldn't use the word woman, but you should probably use the word person with breasts and a uterus. And I'm like, no, maybe we should actually just call biologically female people biologically female. And if there's a transgender person, again, we actually do. I think we say trans female at this point. I think we do, because they choose to be identified by she, her, even if they were born male, and I'm okay with all of that. But I don't think in the discourse of medicine and health and well-being and psychospirituality, the psychological connection with your spirit and your physiology. All of that's very much, it's been gendered since the beginning of time. And I don't think we should lose that either. So I'm really sorry you're getting kicked off campuses. That's a bummer, probably by people who don't like the word female. And again, there's a balance somewhere in the middle for these things. Also, I love the hierarchy of needs, my little Maslow's pyramid. I found that on a secondhand store website because it's awesome. And if anybody needs to see this, I'll take a picture and stick it out there for you. But it's really important to acknowledge where you are as a person. And I think you're right. Everybody has a female and a male side. It's going to, there's going to be a balance capable. It's the same. I mean, Star Wars is a great example of how that's been translated, the dark side and the light side, not to label either male or female bad, but in everything, there must be balance. Jedi know you can't have balance in the universe without the Sith. So it's just, there's a lot. And sure, I can understand how the conversation about gender and saying specifically in your book that men are from a place and women are from a place, people could be like, but that doesn't account for all of this gray stuff that's not as specific. But there's still some basic truths.
Yeah, that's my name's John Gray. I handle both sides, black and white.
black. And now I see Corey. Corey, you're very intense. Yeah. Corey, you're breathing heavy in the mic. No, you're breathing heavy in the mic when everybody's talking. Okay. Yeah. So what's going on? What are you thinking? Are you confused? Does Dr. Gray have to help you? Tell us right now. Come on, Corey. What's the matter?
No, I'm fine.
Is your wife happy?
No.
Well, let's talk with John. What's going on?
So what goes on? There's a little bit of therapy, not a whole big deal here. Okay, just a little few questions.
No, it's for a different reason. She's in pain all the time because she has a back problem, so I have to deal with that.
And how do you deal with that? I
just give her as much compassion and caring as I can, and I rub creams and stuff on her back at night, and I feel compassion for her. What else can I do?
No, that's beautiful. That's you've created a situation for you to bring out your male side, which is selfless service and compassion is your masculine side. See, what I've done is labeled masculine energy and feminine energy, which actually people who really don't want to talk about male and female, they're kind of cool with masculine energy and feminine energy. And then I introduced the idea that actually when you're ever expressing masculine energy, your hormones change. And when you're expressing feminine energy, your hormones change. We can measure that. And then I point out that whenever you're stressed, if you have a woman's body, you're producing more masculine energy than feminine energy for you. And if you're a man and you're experiencing cortisol, you're producing more feminine hormones than masculine hormones for you. And all you have to do is figure out, how can I produce more masculine hormones? And then your stress will go down. Now, that's a really good thing. But the solution, the medicine, the fix for how we cope with stress is primarily different for men than women. But once you're out of stress, then I have access to all my feminine qualities, all my masculine qualities, but I have to be respectful of my biology, which determines state of mind, just as state of mind determines biology, mind and body relationship. We all know when we were 60s, we took the things make us go up, but we went down. Yeah. So what we want to do is mindset affects body, but one little pill can dramatically affect your mind. Well, actually, how you relate to your partner. So right now, your wife has this problem, which brings out your masculine side, to have compassion, to serve her, to help her. And what I'd recommend as a relationship tool is generally back pain has to do with feeling burdened, that I have to do it all myself. I don't have support. So I would guide you, if you're both in counseling, I'd guide her how to express more vulnerable emotions.
No, this is a birth defect. She was born with a spinal defect.
Again, she's in pain. So what I would do is point out to her that all physical pain is also correlated with repressed or unaware of emotional pain. And if one of the ways you could help her is not just the physical pain part, but the emotional side that goes with it. These are just psychological. Lots of books are written on this. I didn't invent this. I just know that people's physical issues, there are also emotional issues that go along with it. And that becomes another doorway for you to be a really good listener and solve the problem, not by offering solutions, but by asking questions. And a practical tip for all the men listening who have wives, whether in physical pain or just stressed out, as so many women are, is basically ask that when she's talking, whether she's upset about something or happy about something, don't talk so much. Instead, ask questions more.
And John, you got me so much sex and so many relationships. You saved so many of my relationships. That's a nicer way of putting it, because of that. Once I read that book and I realized, oh shit, that's me. I want to solve everything. I want to hear a problem just so I can fix it.
Fix it. That's right. That's our objective. And really, you're actually fixing the bigger problem, the meta problem, by realizing that today, most of the time when women are stressed, it's really helpful for them to reconnect with their feminine side, and that will lower their cortisol level. And reconnecting with the feminine, ironically, almost all of this stuff is the opposite of what people think, is when you're sharing what's inside of you, you're on your feminine side. When you're listening, you're penetrating. That's the masculine energy. You're going inside and then you're connecting. And so you're doing masculine and feminine, which is what we want, which is where all creativity stems from, which is why musicians can be so heartfelt and so creative, because they go from their masculine discipline to getting into the flow of what they love. They love the music. And in between there, GABA in the brain gets produced, and they get high on that. But then what happens is they start depending on drugs to get high, and they lose their ability they have a big down. And so I have a series of books in my office, which is Sex Lives of Artists, Sex Lives of Musicians, Sex Lives of Politicians, Sex Lives of successful people. And they're all tormented. But they all cheat around. They're all having sex. They're all divorced. They all have all. And part of all that, what that is when you can find that balance point, power comes through you. But can you sustain that balance point? No, you go too far to your feminine, and then you go too far to your masculine. So what that would look like, if I go too far to my feminine and I'm a man and I'm having sex with this woman and I'm connecting with her so much, my feminine energy increases so much, my testosterone levels go down, masculine energy goes down. So I automatically, without thinking, I withdraw. Because the detachment independence, I'm on my own, that's a tendency to rebuild your testosterone. So that was a big breakthrough idea of men have caves and men are from Mars, chapter 2 or 3. And the bottom line is when men pull away, we can be mad at you and pull away, but much of the time we're just needing to pull away because we got too close. Our estrogen went too high. So if a man is stressed out, solving problems and not always getting paid for them causes stress as well. Your testosterone goes down, you didn't score. So we come home, we often need cave time, which is to withdraw from intimacy, withdraw from social connection, and come back to just feeling independent, doing what I like to do. And men do that, they withdraw. It's a disconnection, and women feel it right away. And if they don't understand men are different, then when he pulls away, she has her own reference point, which is quite often she will pull away when she doesn't feel safe with him, or she's mad at him, or, you know, she's basically tried to open up to him and he doesn't open up. So she withdraws. So if she withdraws and disconnects because she doesn't trust, a man who disconnects is not that he doesn't trust your love. He just needs to do that for himself. But if you don't have that understanding, it's very easy to take it personally and think, oh, what did I do wrong? Or, hey, he's like a woman. If he's a woman, I need to go and ask him feelings and talk about his feelings. When in order to rebuild testosterone, you don't want to go into your emotions. You want to detach for a while, then find balance by looking at what your emotions are. And then when you look at your emotions, analyze them if you're a man and realize it doesn't serve anybody for me to throw these at my partner. Let me analyze them and realize there's no point to this. This is my stuff. How did I create the problem? And if you look at every interaction between men and women, both sides have a part to play. Now, who wants to be blamed in a relationship? I made a commitment in the beginning of my marriage never to complain to my partner, which also strengthens my masculinity. Never. And the second part of it was when I get upset, certainly my mind wants to complain. First, I build my testosterone. For me, it was meditation does that, but I could go drive my car. I have a fast convertible. I go out and drive it around, feel like king of the world. And then I feel good. My testosterone is good. Then I'll come back and look at, okay, what are my emotions? But I'm in a more positive state. And then I analyze them and realize I contributed the problem as much as her. And then you can let it go. Usually we only hold on to negativity when we feel it's our partner's fault. But when you can, everything's your partner's fault, but was your fault. And what people don't know today is men don't know how they make it worse unknowingly. Women don't know how they make it worse unknowingly. So how can you come back to accountability and let go of your stuff if you think you're a victim? Nobody's a victim unless you're a child or unless you're a monkey. You have no control in your life. You have pain of a victim. I have complete compassion for all the victims on the planet. It's horrible, horrible. Okay. And wouldn't it be great if somebody could feel compassion for them and not just feel sorry for them and also help them, but from a point of view of not poor you, but lucky you, you got my compassion, or here's where you can get better. I personally live a life where anything that happens to me, I contributed to it and I can change it if I change my approach. That's such a nice way of looking at things.
See, doctor, if you're in a relationship, like the lady that's in a relationship with you now, you guys get into an argument. Do you ever just go, I'm never wrong. Look at all the books I wrote. Do you ever just...
I never say I'm not wrong. I always say, here's the 3 questions, guys. Help me understand that better. Tell me more. What else? You see, I've done this so much. There's a love guarantee. If I'm in a relationship and a woman is upset, I know I have the power to guide her back to realizing how amazing I am. Because the hungriest thing women want is they want to be naked mentally. And then they want to be naked emotionally, whether they know it or not. That's the vitamin D. That's what they need. They need to be able to express what they think without some guy arguing with. I don't argue. Why argue when you're the king? Okay. I know I got a love guarantee. I know if I can get a woman to talk, that's the one thing I have to do is get her to talk. And if she doesn't talk, it's because she's afraid. So I have to use some of my skills. I go, I know you're concerned. I might say this. I might say that. Or feel this. Listen, I really am safe to talk to. Tell me what you feel. And then she just, once I get them talking their feelings and they feel safe, their estrogen starts rising more and more and more. Then their stress level goes down. And then they remember, I'm a diamond. Are you kidding? Why would you want to reject me? It says, and Bonnie got to that place. She said, I was like the greatest, but she said I wasn't perfect. Here's something Bonnie said. I want to share this. It was around 20 years in our marriage, and I was feeling like most of the arguments and fighting had gone away, and we're still having great sex. And that's really amazing. A lot of couples stop arguing, but they have no more sex because don't reveal themselves naked anymore. But it took a while for us to get all this Mars Venus stuff. Then I said to her, how do you rate me as a husband? And she said, oh, John, as a father to our children, you're the very, very best. As a husband, you're not perfect, but you've given me the greatest gift any woman could want. And I said, okay, what's that? And she said, I know that I can upset you, and some things I do really upset you inside. But when you get upset, you stop talking. Sometimes you'll listen to me more, but most of the time you just stop talking. You go to your cave, and every time you go to your cave, you come back with more love. You always come back with more love. And so I know nothing I can do will ever push you out of my life. And that's the key. Every upset is an opportunity to take responsibility, to see how you contributed to it, and you will experience more love. You get out of that victim place, that blame place, that resentment place, and you come back to taking 100% accountability for what you feel, then you'll always get to a place of greater love. And your sex will reflect it as well. Instead of just having sex, you'll be making love. You'll be growing together in love. And that's a possibility when we learn these skills and approaches and attitudes.
Here. And Corey, are you familiar with Gottman? Gottman? I actually went with my wife to this convention. It wasn't he was speaking, it wasn't a convention. I don't even know what I'm saying. But I went there, and I went to my wife. I go, why am I here? Why? And I want to ask you, how does your view of relationships differ from Gottman's?
Oh, I like Gottman a lot. Okay. He doesn't understand gender differences. Any kind of message that's missing gender differences has got a huge hole in it, as far as I'm concerned. So what point?
So to speak.
Yeah, good, Gary. Got some humor there. So
got you, Corey. Corey's not very funny.
So give me a couple of sentences of what you got from Gottman, and I'll tell you how I respond to it.
I'll tell you what I got from it. I left. I got nothing. I got nothing, and I got nothing. I got nothing from Gottman. I left. I go to my wife. You making me sit here? I looked around the room. And this is when we were first. We looked around the room. I looked at the people. I go, let's go to Whole Foods and get some oysters and get romantic. This is crazy, because I looked at everybody's doing. I felt like they were doing cards, and he paid. That's right. I paid him money. I go, I'll give you money right now if we can leave.
Let me go. Okay, yeah. Let me tell you a little bit about Gottman, and let me also let people know that women listening, if you hear me talking and you think, oh, I wish my husband could hear this, I wish he could be here, and you go tell him he should do this, he's going to feel already criticized. Like, what? I'm not enough. I need some man to tell me how to do this. So back off on that and go to my TED Talk. There's a TED Talk, 2 billion people on that one, and it's for the red shirt. And that TED Talk is so funny. It doesn't blame men for anything, and it doesn't blame women. You see, men don't want to be blamed. Women don't want to be made wrong. And generally speaking, most books on relationships are written by people who are therapists. And 90% of the people who go to therapists are women. So you begin to think that what women feel is right and men should be what women think we should be. And I don't do that. Okay. I'm into men being men, and I'm into women being women, and how we can harmonize without trying to change each other. But here's one good thing Gottman says that I like a lot. And again, if you're missing gender, you're missing the picture as far as I'm concerned, because that's the problem in relationships. We assume our partner thinks like us and should react like us, and we don't have to, but we need to feel understanding of each other, and women need to feel acceptance of what men are and acceptance of masculinity. And you have to earn that, men. But anyway, what Gottman teaches, which is really good, is he teaches the things you do in therapy you can't do in your relationship. There's this thing that everybody teaches, which is active listening. And a good therapist will go, okay, so what you're feeling is this and this, and you're feeling this and this. And you sort of mirror back, some mirroring. And what Gottman did in his research is he said that when you go to a therapist and you learn mirroring, if you go home and try it, it doesn't work, and it makes relationships worse. So I like that, because so many things I see counselors do only makes the problem worse. Yeah. And I'm a radical. I'm not accepted. I basically everything I teach is not what's taught in classes. This is a think outside the box with common sense, instead of, this all, let's be kind of unnatural with the whole thing. Even though what I do when I say men don't talk, just ask more questions, it doesn't feel natural because you want to put out the fire. But what I'm pointing out is, wait a second, the cause of the fire is that she needs to express, she needs to vent, she needs to express what's going on. And that's how you put out the fire. It will burn itself out. Just blow on the fire and it will burn out.
See, I got a lot from you today. Now, here's my situation. What do you do about like toxic in-laws, and you just can't stand them?
Yeah.
You know, how do you make the boundaries? I don't want them in the life. I want them gone. How do you handle a situation like this?
Boundaries is the answer.
Boundaries.
Boundaries. You're not obligated to give them anything.
But is any to have guilt? Guilt.
No guilt with it. You're not responsible for it. We really need to have boundaries. And here's where women and sometimes men get really burnt with in-laws. And that is, you don't like them that much. You don't resonate with them. So you try to make peace and you try to do nice things for them, thinking that then they'll be nicer to you. That's where that's where it's painful for you, is you just gave expecting them to change. You have to let go of expecting these people to change and don't do anything to make them change. Then you don't resent being around them. You just minimize your time around them, and you don't set yourself up to expect agreement, to expect anything from them. And you have to realize, we get all caught up in, I said this, you should agree with me, or I did this for you and you're not doing that for me. We just have to back off. Don't give to them unless you're give a little. And if it doesn't come back, okay, wish you well. That's it. Don't overgive. And that's kind of what women do in relationships. Often when they're not getting what they want, they compensate by giving more, thinking that if I give more, I'll get more. But actually, when you give a man more and he hasn't earned it, so to speak, you're giving it to get more from him. You're actually training him to give you less. It's kind of like, oh, I'm ignoring you and you give me more love. Okay, I'll just give you less love. Women have a tendency, it's a nurturing thing. You see, we have all these different hormones. When you've got a baby in your arms, these nurturing hormones come out, which says, I'm going to give to you unconditionally. But actually, it's not so unconditional, because that baby is giving you unconditional love. They look at you like you're a god. And so you're receiving so much, you're giving back. That's the ideal relationship for women always, is never give, but give back. Be grateful, be appreciative, be on your female side, then go to your male side by giving. And everybody thinks giving is some female thing. No, giving is masculine. What do you think about these men who give up their lives to protect their country, soldiers who go into battle, men who become construction workers, men who do dirty, difficult, and dangerous? They're giving of themselves in order to support their family. Men are the givers. And when women are unhappy, they're the givers. They give and they don't get back. But happy women also give a lot, but they come from the place of, I'm so grateful for what you do for me. I'm freely giving to you. And that's a kind of unconditional love that makes relationships thrive. So rather than ever giving to get, women have to focus on boundaries, practice receiving, making sure only 90% of your happiness comes from you and your life. Get a life. 10% should come from your husband. Only 10%. You're happy. His job is to make you happier.
Amen.
Well said. Well said. It's like, we have to have a life. Amen. I get these women, they come in and he doesn't do this, he doesn't do this, and so I'm unhappy. I said, get a life. I do it more nicely than that. But
yeah, I like you. I like that approach. I like your. See, I'm not kissing your ass, John, but I like you better than God, man. I got to be honest with you. I
don't think that's a very high bar.
I just like the way you. You know what? You got me at the Beatles, being a monk, and right out the gate, right when, because you lured me in. You knew what you were doing. You're professional. You hooked me. You hooked me right out the gate. But I'm relating to a lot what you're saying, and I'm opening up to it. A lot of men they don't want to open up. They're stubborn. They don't want to.
They haven't been talked to the right way. You have to realize educators on relationship want to change men. They want to say, I've got one friend, he's got a bunch of best-selling books, and he says, we have such a great relationship. I know they're not having sex, but nobody knows that. And we have such a great relationship. We always stay connected. Everything is about being present with each other all the time, never avoiding each other, never anything alone. I go, your testosterone levels are so low. Men need to have time apart and time together. Time apart and time together. And when men pull away, this is the idea in Men Are From Mars, that men are like rubber bands. We want to get inside of a woman, then we want to get out. Imagine sex going in and out without going in and out. It's just boring. So men go to their female side. They need to pull away. Then once he's pulled away enough, he will spring back. But what if he pulls away and she keeps running after him or complaining to him and telling him, you should come back to me? She's overly needy and he's overly withdrawing because of her, or because many men today, they feel guilty. They're made to feel guilty for having a life separate from their partners. And I'm not talking about having sex around. I'm totally into monogamy and control of that whole part of you. Don't let your monkey control you. But you need to have you need a life. 90% of your power should come from your own work, your own discipline, your own doing good things, and also having things that make you happy and fulfilled. Then go to your wife for the extras. That's 90% of your life is your main meal, and 10% is dessert, and that's your partner. Then you don't have anything to complain about.
I'm curious as to your the thing that you're getting in trouble with nowadays is the definition of gender, and it seems to me that what you're saying is that we actually are equal, but the male brain is awash in testosterone, and the female is awash in estrogen. But these two brains are equal, and it has nothing to do with body parts. Am I correct in that assumption?
Well, let me try to reframe it in another way.
You never said one was lesser.
No, I never say one's lesser. See, that's the old sexism: is women are stupid, men are powerful, and women say men are evil,
that's
men are not loving.
To you. It's because
Well, equality doesn't mean sameness. That's the confusion. Okay. We want equality. Once the Beatles came out, we all want to be free, be yourself. Everybody's equal opportunity. And a certain part of that was the beginning of America, democracy, equality. We never achieved it. We still haven't, but equal respect, equal appreciation. But equality doesn't mean we're all the same. We're not all just following one leader, thinking what they think. We have differences. And viva la differences. That's the idea. When your heart is open, you're able to glean what benefit from this person, what benefit from that. You get the collective consciousness coming together to create something new, as opposed to everybody becoming, in Star Trek, some of the aliens, they're all part of the hive, one mind, always harmonious, always in harmony. That's the way some people think. We all have to think the same, and they can't handle disagreement. They can't handle differences. No, we're the cancel culture. If you don't agree with me, I'm so offended. I can't hear you. I have to protect myself from you. This is neurosis. This is our neurosis today of hypersensitivity. And what will bring us back to not hypersensitivity is for women not being too far to your male side, for men not being too far on your female side, but finding a balance inside. Then you're integrating two opposing forces. See, that's opposing forces. If you look at, there's two forces in nature, which is the expansive energy and the contractive energy. Now, if you just have expansive energy, everything blows up. If you just have contractive energy, everything goes into a black hole. What you need is a balance of those. And our spirit, our soul, if you can talk like that, I can, it's both masculine and feminine.
Right, it's genderless.
Our bodies are not. And so our job is to integrate spirituality into our lives, is to take that wholeness and embrace it. My masculine gets support in this body, and I support the female and her body. I honor her female. Your wife's in pain, so you feel empathy, you feel compassion, you're there for her. You surrender yourself. You make her more important than you sometimes, because you'd rather just go to sleep or whatever, but no, you're going to stay up for her. That's called manliness. That's called doing what has to be done to achieve the goal. And when that is motivated by love, then you have a better world, instead of everybody whining about me, and they're not giving me this, and then using whining in order to get what you want. Because when you use negativity to get what you want, your brain becomes more negative. You're training your brain, and being negative never gets you what you want. You can see it in your own relationships.
Leventon, you learned something today?
Yeah, that's my problem.
He's a Nancy negative. That's it. You can't be. What's the matter?
Okay, let me point out that they did MRI scans on people that are negative, and the brain is producing high levels of dopamine like cocaine. You're addicted to negative thinking. So what you do is you practice now never speaking out loud for a while any negative thought, but every negative thought or feeling you have, you write it down. Like if you're judgmental of me, for example, you write out, "Dear John, I hate your fucking guts," whatever it is. And you would, excuse me, it just came right out. Okay, sorry. But that's your private space. I don't say that publicly. I shouldn't have said that publicly. Yeah. But there's my private space. You say whatever is in there. You listen to you can say it's a monkey, but actually it's like a child throwing a tantrum. And you embrace it that way. Yeah. You don't let a child rule your life. But if you're good at listening, the child will go through a little tantrum and it will go away, particularly if you learn how to identify emotions. So if you learn meditation techniques, it's always about noticing your breathing. That's bringing your consciousness to your breath. And then there's body awareness, bringing your consciousness to your body, and then relaxing into breathing.
What's he writing?
Oh, okay.
Okay, got you.
Gotcha.
Okay, then.
Write it out. Never utter it out loud, because when you say it out loud, you're actually growing neural connectors. It's energy, but it's also brain patterns in your brain. And you take 6 months to change that. Never uttering it out loud. But there's more than that. When you write out whatever is bothering you, just speak like a crazy person, negative person. You write it out, whatever it is. Then you look at what emotions, those beliefs, those thoughts, those words are evoking inside of you. And whatever the first emotion is, you explore that emotion. And then there's 3 other emotions. There's always 3 other emotions that are deeper. Let me give you an example of that. If you're angry with me and I said to you, well, I know you're angry with me, but also you're afraid. An angry person says, I'm not afraid. But the truth is, if they didn't have fear inside of them, they wouldn't be angry. Let's say somebody feels really, really afraid, and they're just feeling weak and powerless. I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid. Well, they're only afraid because the world hasn't given them the sort of support they deserve. And they would be angry if somebody said, and aren't you kind of angry that people are treating you this way, or that's the situation? See, we deny certain emotions. And when you start writing out all your emotions, just a little bit of what you're angry about, your disappointment, your sadness, your fears, and what you regret or what you feel guilty about, and what happens automatically is they get released when you look at all 4. I've written books on this, how you process emotions to go through them. And sometimes if you're angry, you just have to feel, I'm disappointed. I mean, let's say I'm angry about something. I'm thinking about something I'm angry about. Well, if I feel my anger, and then I say, well, what am I disappointed about? Well, now I feel sad. It just changes if you look at disappointment. And then if you feel kind of sad and go into it, you kind of go, well, if I'm holding on to it, why am I holding on to it? Well, because I feel afraid. It's like I lost a bunch of money in the stock market. I feel sad. But why does that bother me if I'm not afraid? And why does that bother me if I don't feel guilty about making a foolish trade? See, there's always different levels of emotion. And most of us in our childhood, we didn't get the support to go through our emotions. And we don't have emotional literacy. And why is that so important? Because we're a different world now. Emotional fulfillment, when you put up that Maslow hierarchy of needs, emotional fulfillment, to be accepted, to experience intimacy, to experience your potential and making a difference in the world. There it is, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I simplify it and just say, basically, the world has changed. Survival and security is pretty much doable in the Western world. So suddenly what we need is we feel we need more acceptance. We need more intimacy. And these are emotional needs. And men have a greater need for emotional support to produce testosterone. Women have a greater emotional need to come back to their female side. And what does that? I've identified what kinds of love produce testosterone, what kinds of love produce estrogen. If I'm listening to you with some empathy, that produces estrogen. So if you're a guy and you've got too much estrogen, the last thing you want is somebody feeling sorry for you. And guys, don't you sometimes want to push somebody away when they're feeling sorry for you? Yuck. Okay. And I know some women, they don't want you feeling sorry for them as well, and rightly so. But feeling empathy without feeling sorry for somebody is compassion. And that's what we want. We need to have somebody understand where we're coming from. That will produce estrogen. But for men, rather than understanding our main thing, we need women, give men this and you'll get more from him, which is never complain to him. If you don't complain, you're feeling accepted. Acceptance produces testosterone. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be the best in the world. Like my wife said, look, you're not a perfect husband. That's acceptance. But you've given me this great gift. That's wonderful. You know, sometimes when I tell that story, people go, oh, you're not perfect? No, I'm not perfect. You know, I leave my socks around. I leave lights on. I forget to call her sometimes. And I'm not always open to being intimate and close because I need my cave time. Yeah. So nothing's perfect in this world. But love is being able to accept someone the way they are. And you grow in love by accepting them. You will always get more from a man if you don't resist. Whatever you push away will only become more in your life. It's learning how to appreciate and accept and trust. These are all things that produce testosterone in men. If you just trust, he's doing his best. Trust, he'll be there. He'll do what he can do. But if you don't have the skills, it's hard to trust. And if you don't accept him the way he is, you're never going to get him to be trustworthy because he's always defending himself. And the key thing, the fuel for men to really bump up their testosterone is here's 3 phrases for women to do this week, and you'll see what a difference it makes. Stop complaining, 1. 2, practice saying things like, what a good idea. That really makes sense. Oh, you're right. And do it with a little enthusiasm, and each time you'll see blood flow to his brain. Literally, he will be so happy.
I'm so glad this is being recorded, so I can.
You know, I am too being recorded, and I want to say something. You know, I know. You know, you have a time, you have to go and all that, but he really taught us a lot today, John. And I got to really, I have to appreciate you being here, but I have to expose somebody. You know, Corey's over there rubbing his back and making me look bad up here. But Corey's wife just wrote in the chat. Read this, Corey, right there. What's your wife saying?
Oh, stop.
Read that, Corey. Read that.
My therapist gave me the same advice.
Read it out loud. I can't hear you. We can't hear you.
I had a therapist who told me to write out my feelings. I asked, I don't have to read it. I know what it says.
I'll read it for you.
I type them out because that's how I write now. I can't even.
Corey's therapist gave him the same advice. Told him to write out his feelings. He asked if he could type it instead. She said no, so he refused to do it. Have to do the work.
Do it with typing. It doesn't matter that much. It's a little bit better if you write, but it's actually, you still work with typing and practice. In my book, I have something called the feeling letter technique. It organizes it because, you know, you can write out you're angry till you're blue in the face and nothing's going to change. You have to shift gears. You have to go, okay, now what am I angry about? Why is it disappointing to me? And if you feel disappointed and sad, why am I so disappointed and sad? Because I'm afraid. And then you get down to these deep levels of fear, and then you start feeling your own insecurities that you're not good enough, or you apologize for not being loving, whatever it is. I explain these deeper levels you go to, and then it's gone. And why? Because primarily it's good mind stuff, right? But also you're taking responsibility for handling your stuff rather than throwing it on somebody else.
Well, you're a much better marriage therapist than
he's great. And John, can you hold that book up one sec so we could show the audience that book, please?
Now, at marsvenus.com, I have a free course to organize everything you've heard me say today. It's free, and there's exercises, and it's amazing. How to get everything you want in your relationships. And Beyond Mars and Venus identifies the behaviors that men can do on their own to increase testosterone, and behaviors women can do on their own at a certain time of the month to make estrogen, at a certain time of the month to make progesterone, at a certain time of the month to make testosterone. So this is women's hormones are a bit more complex than men's. So that's all in that book. And men need to know that, because if you look at like 6 days after her period, I'll give you one little hint on this. That's when her estrogen levels need and can go to the highest level. So that's when you want to schedule your date. So find out when she has her period.
I could always detect that, by the way. I could always detect that. I'm not looking at calendars or anything. It's primal.
It's primal.
Anyway, I love it. I love it, Corey. That's great. You're the man.
You're the man, Corey. There's the book right there. Right, hold that up.
Right there. It's called Beyond Mars and Venus: New Relationship Skills for single people, for married people, for guys, for girls. It's all there. And free class called How to Get Everything You Want in Your Relationships, free at marsvenus.com, marsvenus.com. And you don't get everything tomorrow, okay? It's like you build up. It's not a short squeeze where it shoots up. It's gradual. It's gradual.
It's gradual.
The short squeeze is never worth it, I promise.
It's like the stock market, because I've been investing lately. It goes up and it comes a little down, and it goes up and it goes a little down. It's like that's normal in relationships to go up and down. Women tend to go up and down. Men tend to go in and out, in and out. It's a nice little rhythm that we can do together. It's a dance step.
A nice little, and Debbie just goes, John, can you come back sometime? I hope you do come back, John.
I'll come back with you anytime. Rock and roll, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but no more drugs.
Oh, you know what? I got John Gray. You're my new friend. There's a lot of rock and roll I could talk about with you, days and days. But you know what? You're helping me out. You're helping Corey out, and Miranda.
I've got your course already emailed, so.
That's
Thank
it.
you so much,
everybody, what I will do for everybody watching, we're going to rebroadcast this. This will be on YouTube, but I'm going to put the link for John's book. It'll be right above John's head, and you can order it. I'll put all the links there, and please write to him and all that good stuff. John Gray, I want to thank you for being here, my friend.
Thank you.
Men are from Mars, women from Venus, John Gray, but he has a lot of books out there, a lot of stuff, and a lot of knowledge, and a lot of help in these times. Thank you, my friend.
You bet. You bet. You guys are really fun. Thanks a lot.
You're wonderful. On that note, everybody, we will see you tomorrow. And you have a good day, everybody. We'll let the outro roll out. We'll see you later. Corey, I hope you learned something today.
I did. I learned from his book. It really helped me so much. The Men Are From Mars.
Yeah. All right.
And,
Corey,
and I learned from today too. No, he speaks very fast, but I got some stuff.
He's my type of guy. He speaks ADIKA style. That's what I like over here. John, you're my guy. And he loves the Beatles. We love you. Mwah. Mazel to everybody. Boom.
It's coffee talk with ADIKA. Nothing rhymes with that but chicken tikka. We name drop here. We're Stefan and all his friends.
Okay, we got to get the kids. But before we all go, everybody, please subscribe, all that good stuff. And you know what? Click there, click over here, there. Patreon for Corey, for Miranda, all that good stuff. We love you. Hey, see you later. Share this out. Tell people what they're missing, all right? Mwah. Big mazel to you. ADIKA loves you, baby. Corey, go mess the bed up. Let's see Joanne have a fit.